Well, today what I'm going to attempt to do is recreate what I went through when I filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is a necessary part of the financial code. I think it's through the IRS. It's federal. So don't screw around, don't lie, don't do a lot of things. It's federal. You need to know that. I had debt I couldn't pay, and I lost my health, and blah, 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 blah. So the first thing you do is you find an attorney. Now, when I was actually in the hearing with all the other people that have to appear, I saw one lady do it without an attorney, so it's possible. But if you've got some money, get an attorney. And don't just get an attorney, get a good one. How do you find a good one? Well, you look at all the websites, you read reviews, and that helps. My attorney, I read the reviews, and I thought they were going to be pretty good, and I think they were pretty awful. They spent a lot of time ignoring my questions, and it just added to the stress. This is stressful. Doesn't matter who you are or what the problem is, this is stressful. So you want a good, communicative attorney. So where do I start? What helped me? Well, I have a laptop, and they can either send you the files that you have to fill out by email, or some places you go up to a website and you download it. So you have to fill them out and get them to the attorney's office in whatever period of time they tell you. What I have is most of the time they use PDF files, right? And you can print it out, sign it, and then either mail it back or scan it and email it back, whatever you want to do. What I did was I took the PDF file, and if you pay extra money, some of you may have this already, some of you don't, you can actually digitally sign the PDF file. So I would say, if you can, number one, digitally sign your files. It just makes it so easy, and I'll explain to you why. What happens is you open the file up, you read through it, you fill it all out, and then you sign it and you just email it back. No printing, no paper involved. That's really helpful because there is a boatload of paperwork here. Mine is pretty simple. I have a cheap, inexpensive house, so I had to produce paperwork for that. You have to produce the title to each one of your vehicles, no matter how new or crappy they are. There's a whole bunch of stuff you have to put down, but if you can digitally sign the files, pay the extra. It's Adobe Acrobat, right, is what PDF files are based on. So just to open them, you need Adobe Acrobat. Now, I'm giving you the easiest way to do it, but you can fill all this stuff out by hand and mail it in or carry it in or whatever. But if your life, is busy and you just don't have a lot of time and you're going to be panicked about this, I promise you will, because most of us have never been through it. This is my first time, hopefully my only time. But anyway, if you can just sign it on your computer and then just email it back or upload it to the website that some attorneys use, you're in great shape. It's much faster, much easier. They can read it and say, oh, you didn't do this right, and they send it back and you update it and you just email. That way it's also traced, it's trackable, One of my big bitches with my attorney is they had a website, a specially designed website for this kind of work, and I'd upload the files, but the website would not notify them that I uploaded it, so they didn't know. And that created problems all the way up to the freaking last day before the hearing. Oh my God. So if you can get a verbal recommendation for an attorney, get it from somebody that's used somebody, and try to get a couple of them. This is a big deal. Once in a while you get an attorney that's a total moron, and you'll know. You don't have to be a legal expert to know when somebody's a moron, okay? So anyway, made this whole things so much easier using Adobe Acrobat with a signature capability. It costs money. It's a few $100. I got it years and years ago. But boy, it helps out. And you fill out the forms digitally and everything. It's so nice. Plus, they don't have to read your stupid handwriting. How many of us have great handwriting? You know, I don't. And it helps. It just makes this process smoother. And let me tell you, I'm glad I did it, because these guys, I will never recommend my attorney. I just can't. Okay, so you're going to fill out a lot of paperwork. Let's see. You're going to need your titles for each vehicle. And that includes trailers and everything. So if you've got an RV, blah, 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 anything that takes a title, you got to turn it in. Don't screw around with this. And here's what I mean by don't screw around with this. Don't sell it to your brother or your buddy for $1 the month before. Okay? That's against federal law. And they will ask you in the hearing, have you sold anything in the last, I don't know, anything worth more than, like, what did he say to me, $250 in the last 90 days, last year, whatever? Did you, they quiz you. He looks you straight in the face while he's recording you. Your voice, your image goes into a database, and in case you lie your ass off, they've got the tape of you saying, hey, this is all okay, I did everything right. So what I did was I had a vehicle that I was pretty sure they were gonna take from me. Just an old four-wheel drive, nothing fancy. And I sold it well before the hearing, and I took the money and put it into my home. That's fairly important. If you own a home, your state where you live has what's called the it's Homestead. You'll have to look it up. It varies state to state a lot. There's law that says if you have to file bankruptcy and you've got creditors chasing you, that your house can be protected up to a certain value. Now, I haven't lived in Arizona 2 years, so they had to go back and use California law. And that was okay, because my house literally wasn't worth shit. So I was well under those, so my house was protected. That truck I told you I sold, I took all the money and put it into the property, so they can't come after the cash. Well, the cash got all spent, and I had receipts for that. So if you do sell something and you really, I was poor, I had to sell shit just to feed myself. Keep the receipts. Document that you sold it and what you used it for. You don't want to build up cash, because if the judge decides that you owe something to creditors, or you have something to pay to creditors, they will take your cash. Now, by law, I was allowed to keep $300 in my bank account. Now, here's what you're probably going to hear and not hear from anybody else. But what you have to do is you go to the bank, you adjust your balance however you have to. You either add money or subtract money to make it whatever your state requires. In my case, it was $300. And you have the bank teller print you out a receipt showing your account balance of $300. That has to be submitted to your attorney, so they can turn it in. I keep calling them a judge, but they're actually called a trustee. I'm just going to call them a judge, because it feels like it, right? And they're federal, so they got a lot of power. Don't screw around. So the balance before that day that you, in my case, $300, the balance before that for the previous 90 days, they want your bank record, your statement from the bank for the previous 90 days. So back to 90 days, they're going to look at your spending pattern. Mostly they're going to look at deposits. If all of a sudden they go, wow, we got $800 on this day and $1,000 here, what'd you do with the cash? They're going to ask you right to your face. Your attorney should be smart enough to, of course, talk to you about it way in advance, so that there's no surprises when you're sitting there. Because you're only going to sit in front of the guy, I bet it wasn't even 5 or 6 minutes. It's a high volume kind of game, so they want the shit done easy and quick. The judge does, your attorney does, you do. So you're going to need, before that $300 receipt you're going to generate with your bank balance, you're going to have to hand over your bank records for every account you have. It doesn't matter if it's an IRA, checking, savings, whatever the hell it is, 90 days. So if you're going to do something stupid like hide money, make sure that it was well before this 90-day period, because they don't tend to look before that. They can if they want. They're federal. They can say, hand me your shit or I'm going to hurt you. So I was lucky, well, lucky and unlucky. I've been poor for so long. My spending pattern showed that the balance just over time just went down, 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 down. And so there was just nothing to debate. No special deposits that disappeared, nothing. So they go back 90 days there. In the documentation and in the hearing, they're going to ask you questions about, did you sell anything, any real property, anything worth more than whatever your state is? Mine was like $250 in the last year. Okay, so you've got to be able to answer that question to your attorney, obviously, first. Don't bullshit your attorney. Get through this honestly. The one thing you learn going through this is your attorney only knows what you tell him or her. Okay? So if you don't tell them something, they don't know. Take that, any way you want, but remember, this is federal. Don't screw around. So there's paperwork that'll ask you all kinds of financial questions. Now, if you don't own a home, they do allow a certain amount of cash in the bank account well above this 300. I don't remember what mine was because I own a home, but it was something like, I don't know, it was thousands. They allow you to have that in the bank in lieu of owning a home. The great thing about owning a home is the Homestead laws protect creditors from taking your home. That's really cool. It's all over the United States. Some states have really shitty homestead laws. And like California is pretty good, Arizona is really good, but you have to live there a certain amount of time first for it to count. I was here, 14 months, and I couldn't use Arizona's law. I had to use the previous state where I lived, which is California. So they're going to go back in time and look at this spending pattern and see if you're hiding money or whatever. If you've always had cash in your safe or in your house that's not documented anywhere at all, then it's up to you whether you tell anybody about it. Because I tell you what, the scariest thing in the world is only having $300 in the bank. You can't pay. You know what? I own my house. I've got taxes to pay and bills, utilities, that bullshit, and $300 doesn't even go a month. So that's really scary. So whatever you decide to do and who to tell is up to you. But your attorney only knows what you tell him. But these attorneys have been lied to 1,000 times, so don't be an idiot. Anyway, so the paperwork you have to fill out, there's a lot of forms. There's one specifically for the judge you have to fill out, and then there's a bunch of standard bankruptcy forms. I did 7. 13, you pay back a bunch of stuff sometimes. 7 worked out for me. I got to keep my vehicles, and they're old pieces of crap, so it doesn't really matter. There's no value. I have nothing of value. All right, so they ask you about how much you have in the bank. You have to prove the receipt. Remember, anything you have to generate, you have to get back to your attorney. So that stupid receipt is really small. It's like a receipt from the department store. So I scanned mine and turned it into a PDF file and then emailed it. So now it's in my email forever. It's in their email forever. And that way, because you can lose a little receipt like that and you'll crap your pants. Now, the trick with this that I forgot to mention was the day you go to the bank and you get this receipt for this amount or whatever amount your state specifies, you have to do it on the day that your attorney files your case. That's generally true. Your attorney will instruct you. Don't worry, he'll let you know. but you have to do it generally on the day you file, because they want to know how much money you had in the bank that day. One of the reasons I have come to understand that having an attorney is better than not is the judges tend to question the attorneys in detail a lot less than they would just question you if you went in by yourself. So my attorneys valued my vehicles at a certain level, and I thought it was kind of low. Personally, that's just my thought. I'm not a car expert by a mile, but the attorneys can get away with that shit because, you know, they bring dozens or hundreds of cases to these guys all the time. So they can help you keep your vehicles or rate them at the right price, and that kind of helps you. You know, if you have several vehicles, you know, and you're afraid they might take one, you know, see what your attorney thinks they're worth or what they'll write down. That matters. You know, they usually don't ask you what it's worth. They take the title from you and they look it up their own way, and then they put an amount in for you, and then on that form you just sign it. So keep in communication with your attorney. Try not to badger them. Write your questions down. It's better literally to email them the questions separately, one line at a time, so they can answer them, because remember, you're not the only person in their life. But these attorneys have a lot of people they have to deal with in a day, and I numbered all my questions. I went the entire period of time that I filed, it was 2 months. Yeah, part of that's my attorney's fault. But anyway, so I numbered all my questions, 1 through, in my case, 1 through 18. I didn't have 18 questions on the first day. They just would come up and I'd number them. And then that way you can keep track of them. You don't want to screw up, because follow through is mostly your attorney's responsibility. Once you've turned the paperwork in, they have to read your paperwork and make sure that not only can they read your damn handwriting, but is everything right? And then they got to kick it back and say, no, fill this out, change this, blah, blah, blah. So if you can do this on email, over email, you will save yourself a lot of hassle. The one thing you don't want to, well, I did it, but you have to be careful, is you have to have your Social Security card present at the hearing, which means your attorney needs a copy of it before the hearing. So I don't know if you want to email a copy of your Social Security card to anybody with the way things get hacked these days. You may just take it in, have them Xerox it, and then there's no electronic copy anywhere. That I would recommend, because email gets hacked worldwide, and there's your Social Security number. It's a requirement. You can't get around it. You got to have a Social Security card to go through this process. They need a second form of ID. Driver's license is okay in my state. It's generally true everywhere. So, like I said, try to do everything electronically. It stores it and makes it a lot faster, because you're gonna screw up. I don't give a shit who you are. I've been a professional, and there was still errors. So just do everything over email that you can, digitally if you can. Let's see, is there anything else about the process before you go to the hearing? Well, if I think about it, I'll let you know. The hearing's pretty simple. People were dressed, some were dressed up, some were in complete shit clothes. One lady, oh my God, man, she had short shorts on and cellulite, and oh dear God. You know, don't dress like that. I was in, my work clothes and my boots, but they were clean, and I fit right in. So, take a shower, comb your hair, just all the basic horse shit. You sit across the table from the judge, and he's, 3 feet from you. So it's a real conversation you're going to have with a human being who's been lied to 10,000 times. So the straighter you play this, the more you can look him straight in the eye and say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Or yes, or whatever the answer is supposed to be. That helps a lot. Because what'll happen is if there's issues, the judge will let you know up front and see if you can solve it right there on the spot, because he wants his shit done too. He wants it out of his hair. All right? Remember, it's a volume business for everybody. The judge, the attorneys, it's a volume business. They want it done and out the door. So if he has any immediate questions that he can hopefully get an answer for, maybe you've got a receipt in your notebook, you have to keep some kind of a folder full of your shit. Because I didn't take anything because I know my attorney had it all with him. But my attorneys really screwed up. They thought that they hadn't turned in any of my paperwork the day of the hearing. So he brought the whole stack. Fortunately, luck was with me. They did end up turning it all in. And when my attorney offered the judge a huge pile of paperwork, the judge said, "Don't fix it if it ain't broke." And I was like, oh, thank God the judge has got brains, because his fucking attorney doesn't. Attorneys, hey, they got a degree, they got a legal degree, that's really great, but some of them are morons, okay? Some of them are just horribly disorganized. The more organized you are, the calmer you can be, the more you're going to help your own attorney, okay? I literally, I had to sit there. My appointment was at 2 p.m. I swear to God, everybody's is at 2 p.m., but they schedule it throughout the day. They tell you what hour you're supposed to be there. And I was like maybe third from the last. So I was there like 45 minutes just sitting. Your attorney will have other clients that he goes up and sits there with and has to process them. So I was there about 45 minutes and they called my name. I go up there with my attorney. We sit right in front of the guy, and he has this whole thing memorized. He'll ask you about everything I've talked about. Money in the past, have you sold anything to your friends? Have you sold anything more than $250? Blah, and it's rapid fire, man. He is a walking, talking lie detector. No bullshit, he is. Or she is, it can be either way. So you wanna look him straight in the eye and just calmly answer the question. It's stressful. I'm not gonna bullshit you, man. I don't care who you are. So you wanna do it as straight as you can, all right? So what happens is when the judge is done, he says to you, okay, thank you for your time today, you're dismissed. Or if there's something you need that you guys don't have with you, he'll say, okay, send it to my office admin, and then they'll send you an email saying that or a letter saying that your case is disposed, it's done. But he told me right in front of me, okay, you're dismissed, thank you for your time. You walk out the door with your attorney and immediately go to the bathroom, and because you're stressed like shit, So you're in a fairly big room with a lot of chairs, and people sit around, and you get to hear their business, you get to hear your business, but it's almost all the same. The questions are almost exactly the same, unless there's a special exception. And then he'll just ask you about it and stuff like that. So, like I said, these guys are pros. They've been lied to a million times. So if you think you're a master liar, you're not. I guarantee these people know their shit. So anyway, this is about pretty much all I remember. This was a couple of weeks ago. In fact, I just got the email today that says my case was dispensed or dispersed or whatever, and that they didn't have to take anything from me and liquidate it and give it to the creditors, which is what they told me while I was there, but you need it in writing. This is a very useful tool. I put out a call to all my friends, and I can't even begin to tell you how many of them wrote me back and said, oh yeah, I filed Chapter 7, oh yeah. People just don't talk about shit like that, but a lot of people can give you experience. Ask your friends, ask your family. You're gonna be surprised. I can't believe how many people, and they all, gave me all kinds of hints and stuff, and it was wonderful. I was really happy to have their help and the honest discourse. I know one guy had rental properties coming out his butt, and a house and a mortgage and tons of stuff, and he was real happy with the outcome. He got to keep his house, stuff like that. So anyway, generally they just look back 90 days, but they're going to ask you questions in some of the documents about going back a year. So I haven't had any money for way over a year, so that was real easy. Anyway, I hope this helps anybody out there. I looked for videos, and all I could find was freaking videos from attorneys. I ain't no damn attorney. I'm a client. I had to go do this for real. And this is pretty much what worked best for me. You know, get online, study stuff up like what your homestead law is. Your attorney can obviously answer that for you. As for doing it by yourself, I can tell you that if you have anything to lose, you really need to go get an attorney. They're usually between, say, $1,800 and $2,500 because there's a filing fee of $300 something to do this, and you have to pay that obviously up front and then whatever the attorney's fees are. I saw one lady do it on her own. She didn't succeed. She had to go back and produce some more paperwork and blah, 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 because I don't think she's ever done it before. But knowing what I know now, if I had to do it again, I would do it without an attorney. But it's because I've been through the process with, yeah, they're paid professionals and they weren't that good, but I learned the process. I've been through it. If you haven't been through it, don't screw around, go get an attorney. Or at least get advice from an attorney. I didn't learn most of this until I went through the process. They're not terribly communicative because it's a high volume business. They want you in, they want you out, and gone. So if you tend to ask 10,000 questions, you're going to get stonewalled. They're going to stop talking to you. That may have been what happened to me, but I was very careful to document my questions, and all of them had validity. They were all important. It wasn't like horseshit questions. They were just not very organized and expedient in their office. So I will never give you their names, so you'll never know who it is. Anyway, good luck. This is a tool that the government gives us to rid ourselves of, hideous debt, and life goes on and begins almost immediately. You'll start getting credit card offers in the mail and all kinds of shit. So it can take up to 60 days to get your notification in the mail, but sometimes it happens in a week. They tell you 60, but a lot of times it just happens in a week. For me, I think it took 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and I got my notification. That's all good. They don't have to give or auction off any of my shit. So the creditors that got wrote off got 0 from me. And in one case, that actually makes me very happy because they're total assholes. Anyway, good luck. I wish you all well. It's a hell of a process. And yeah, it's scary. You should be scared. But it's a gift the government sets up for us, and you can go through it and dump a bunch of debt and start your life again and be smarter. Oh, there's a couple classes you have to take online. One you take before this happens and one you take after. It's only 15, 20, 25 bucks each class. You take it online. You're actually going to be online for an hour. Don't screw around with bad internet connections or whatever, because the software keeps track of you online, of how long you've been on. So I still have to do my my end one here, my exit. It's just basically, how to be responsible with your finances. Mine occurred because I lost my health. I can't work, and I'm swirling down the drain. So I can't help it. I don't need financial advice. I budgeted really well my whole life. And then I got really sick. So that's the IRS. It's told me that's the #1 reason for bankruptcy is loss of health. Stay healthy, my friends. See you, bye.